The term home wrecker has taken on a literal meaning recently in Canada.
This is not quality work.
Amateur renovators are spending over $1 billion a month trying to fix up their own homes. Some of their work is bad, some is worse. Which one of these people is Canada's worst handyman? Maybe it's Merle.
I am not Canada's worst handyman because I know what I'm doing.
It's getting tense here at the Handyman Rehabilitation Center, where the worst amateur home renovators in the entire country are each trying to completely redo an apartment in just 12 days. The stress of constant deadlines has led to anxiety, which has led to some seriously shoddy improvements. The stress has also led to fights. Fights between handymen and the experts.
Just do it the way you're told to do it.
Too high.
Fights between handymen and their wives.
Well, why don't you get off your ass and go do it?
Fights between the wives and wives.
Don't ever call me a that's one thing.
Canada's worst handymen are starting to split at the seams. Hopefully, today's focus on carpentry will allow them to get their aggression out in a constructive way. Barry from Quadra Island, BC was nominated as Canada's worst handyman by his terrified neighbor, Scott.
Barry tried to take down his carport because it was rotting, so he decided the wall to take down first would be the supporting wall, with he and his son Zale inside. They barely managed to escape with their lives.
Most of the time, nothing turns out right, and I hurt myself.
If things rarely turned out right for you, would you remove a closet with a chainsaw? Jeannie's next. She recently bought a house in Victoria, BC that needs some renovating. She doesn't know how to renovate, but that's not stopping Jeannie. She was nominated as Canada's worst handyman by her friend Lawrence.
She's a bit of a klutz.
I'm a what?
Klutz.
I sort of measure a piece of wood, and then I try and put that where I have already measured, and I get a totally different sized piece of wood arrives. It grows.
Merle's our next candidate. This Albertan trucker is all about speed. His wife, Shelley, wishes he'd slow down.
For anybody who want to do something yourself, my advice is get some duct tape and get it done fast.
You ever plastered over duct tape before?
Not this big.
Our fourth nominee is Daryl. Daryl has carpentry overalls, but no carpentry skills. Something his wife, Sarah, enjoys reminding him.
Why do you always hammer screws?
Instructions lead to a fight because Sarah starts reading them to me like I'm a baby or a child.
Well, only a child wouldn't read the directions because a child can't read.
And the final nominee for Canada's worst handyman is Keith, a big city performance artist who doesn't know which way to turn a screw.
When I turn a screw, do I go left to loosen? Right is tight and left is off. Left is on, right is loose.
Keith was brought to us by his friend, David.
One of the projects that Keith had me do was fix a lamp that was, for some reason, just not working.
The bulb blew, but I didn't know it. But it wasn't my fault.
While the nominees go through 25 challenges, transforming their dilapidated apartments into beautiful living spaces, they will be instructed, encouraged, and reprimanded by our two experts. Greg House, our head builder, is a lifelong general contractor who can fix anything that could possibly go wrong in a home. Except emotional issues, which he has no time for anyway.
My job here as the building expert is to critique the building. It's not all the gushy feelings between you. It's the building.
With Greg is Robin Lockhart, owner of a Toronto design firm specializing in clean, modern style.
You're just turning everything into a rat's nest, and it's coming across really just disgusting and disappointing.
Together in their high-tech mission control center, they watch every clumsy move our bad handymen make. At the end of this 6-part series, Robin, Greg, and I will decide who is Canada's worst handyman. Today's first challenge for our pathological nail benders is to build a shelf and attach it to their living room wall.
Now, the walls in this place are just not normal. In fact, they're made of concrete. So mounting anything to them will involve a lot of very difficult drilling. Canada's worst handymen, you know, they like to cut a lot of corners. But shelving, well, it's just not one of those things you can fake.
Okay, so the first thing I guess we'll do is measure.
Greg thinks making only one shelf is letting them off easy. So the task is to now build 3 shelves.
It's going to be a piece of cake. We have 1 hour for this.
I have to think about how I'm going to attach them to the wall. That's the big thing for me.
Attaching shelves to the wall is going to be the big thing for everyone. For materials, all we've given Canada's worst handymen is pine boards, glue, and screws. No brackets.
I'm not sure how to make a bracket yet, but we'll just do it as plain and simple as possible.
The plainest, simplest way to make a bracket is to cut a piece of wood, then slice each end at a 45-degree angle. A bracket like this will transfer any weight back to the wall, allowing the shelf to bear a heavy load.
Now, what is that?
That's your miter box.
A miter box and miter saw are what good carpenters use to cut exact common angles, like the all-important 45 degrees. Merle can't understand how his miter box would help make a perfect cut either. So he flips it over and eyeballs the angle.
Here we go. You want to hold that side for me?
Jeannie's got her miter saw, but its thick top edge is preventing her from making the cut she wants.
Yoink.
So she moves on to a coping saw, designed for intricately slicing thin wood. Jeannie has the proper kind of saw in her apartment, but she can't be bothered to find it. Keith has the correct tool, a crosscut saw, but his technique is awful.
I don't even think I'm doing this correctly now. Ow! Ow!
They need to put more energy and effort into the forward stroke and relax on the back stroke and let the saw do the work.
Canada's worst handymen don't know how to screw either.
There's definitely some junior drill techniques.
Over the last 20 years, the cordless drill has become the home renovator's most important power tool. But Canada's worst handymen have no idea how to use one.
They've got them set far too high for what they're doing, and they're starting off too fast, so the screws are slipping out of the bits.
I need a lesson in power tools.
To use the drill as a screwdriver, simply spin the chuck open, insert the bit you want, tighten the chuck, and screw away to your heart's content.
So I can put a hole in.
Jeannie just doesn't get it.
She's trying to put the screws directly into the drill.
She's got the screw right in the chuck.
Oh, Jeannie.
Oh, Jeannie.
Keith is screwed up as well.
And I'm afraid that when I do this, the reason I don't hold it in is because I'm afraid it's going to hurt me.
These drills have a trigger that acts like a throttle. Press it in a little, and the drill turns slowly. Squeeze the trigger all the way, and the drill takes off. I show Keith how to use his tool softly and painlessly.
You go slow, and it won't hurt. Heard that before. Hey, but then you can't.
It will definitely hurt, though, if you drill into your leg.
Oh, this is the action I really like. Okay, that's power tool against the limb. let's do some damage.
Aside from never doing it on the floor, here is the most basic rule of drilling. When boring holes, set the drill on high power. But when screwing, go slowly on low. I explained that to Keith not 10 minutes ago.
Get in there, you mother. Me harder.
You got all these angles here.
Daryl hasn't touched his drill yet, but with all his wood painstakingly pre-cut and ready to assemble, he may be the farthest ahead.
How's it going? Well, I think we have a good plan. So now the execution, just a 2, 3, 4, up the wall, brackets.
Very good.
Fingers are crossed.
Merle also has a plan, but he can't explain it. He can only build it.
Okay, what kind of shelf are you making? You just hang it up?
For my trophies, for a book, I gotta hang it up.
He really pissed me off on that one, so, because he just wouldn't make a plan.
Merle wants to attach his shelves to the middle of the wall, but he can't figure out how to do it. So Shelley searches for a wall stud they can screw to.
You need a stud.
Keith's also looking for a stud. Then Barry realizes why no one can find one.
Oh, it's concrete.
Unable to find a stud, Merle changes plans and decides to wedge his trophy case into the corner. When Merle got here, we gave him a brand new level. He won't use it.
Is that level?
Well, it looks level to me.
Okay. I'll just hold it here.
Is your head level?
Merle gets his shelf securely screwed to the corner. It's his first clean, tidy job.
See you at the next challenge.
Yeah.
After 37 minutes, Merle's the first to finish, as usual. With 10 minutes left, Jeannie still hasn't got a single shelf up. Neither has Barry, and neither has Daryl.
It's like watching a fish out of water, just flopping around. You just want to give it a little kick back in, you know?
When the hour runs out, I go to Keith's room to see how his work stacks up.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, what?
This is the test.
This is the test. This is the stress test.
If I had like 30 more seconds.
I'm giving you 30 seconds right now.
Oh
30
my God.
seconds, go.
Wait, I have to get
29, 28.
I don't know where the tool is.
27, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Keith only gets 2 of his 3 shelves to work. Jeannie's certain her solitary shelf will collapse, but it doesn't.
See? You should be proud, not
All right,
shocked.
I'm proud.
Ta-da! Jeannie gets 1 of her 3 shelves built. And Merle?
That's a flying colors pass, buddy.
Right on.
He's perfect.
Shelley's starting to find out, well, I could actually do something.
Barry has the smallest shelf of them all. And for now, it's holding up.
Now, nobody applaud or it could all come down. Shh. Exactly.
Cut. But Barry only has 1 shelf built, if you want to call it a shelf. And finally, it's Daryl's stress test. He understands the gravity of this situation.
You should stand over here just in case this comes down. Not so good.
Daryl is completely off the wall. When we come back, Canada's worst handymen have the fundamentals drilled into them.
That could be quite dangerous then. You just happen to sit on it or something.
While the candidates for Canada's worst handyman were putting up their shelves this morning, it became apparent that a lesson in basic drill technique is long overdue.
I saw a little bit of what you guys were doing today to these drills.
You like that, eh? You like the one where...
I was weeping.
Some people learn by doing. Not Jeannie. She's been using this drill for 4 days now, and she still doesn't understand where to even start.
What's on and off?
The trigger, the switch. The switch
Okay,
is the
it's
on-off
and off.
switch.
Right. That could be quite dangerous then, isn't it, really? I mean, if you just happen to sit on it or something.
Next order of business, showing everyone the button that changes the drill from forward to reverse.
Okay, and that is this button here. Forward, reverse. Okay?
Okay, let me have a look at that then.
When all the questions are dealt with,
Now I'm asking you.
So what's the dial for?
What's the recommended clutch?
Canada's worst handymen receive their next challenge.
Class dismissed.
All right, everybody. Your next challenge is going to take you to a new room in your house, to your bedroom, and you're going to lay flooring. This is laminate flooring. It's not scary. This is easy. This stuff snaps together. Basic, simple. So simple, we're going to ask your nominator to do it. We actually want to see you people give instructions. We want to see you be the foreman of this job. You're going to be hands-off on this. You're going to read the instructions. You're going to tell your nominator exactly what to do, and your nominator will do it. The only good news is that gravity holds this floor down. They can't screw up the nailing.
A laminate floor is also called a floating floor because it's not nailed down. It's simply laid down, right on top of a foamy pad. The first trick to laying a laminate floor is cutting a small piece to start with. This way, when you lay out your full rows, or your courses, the pattern will come out staggered like brickwork. If that doesn't happen, and the floor goes in with long, straight seams like this, it will be weak and eventually split. Snapping the pieces in makes a perfect seam lengthways. To tighten the short edge, you need a rubber mallet. Or, if you're up against the wall, a pry bar.
We're going to be doing laminate flooring, but the only thing is, you're it.
I'm it?
Yes.
How do you mean?
I get to tell you how to put that floor down.
You have to do the entire floor.
Get out.
Because their nominators will be doing the hands-on work in this challenge, Canada's worst handymen will be forced to understand the instructions, plan correctly, and communicate.
I'll read the French, that way I'll never get it.
The instructions make no mention of duct tape, but Merle can't believe the foam underlay could possibly work without it. So he breaks the rules by getting his hands sticky. Merle has duct tape issues.
I like duct tape because it's strong and you can use it anywhere. It's handy. Voila, it's fixed. I need duct tape all the time, so there's no way I could give that guy up.
Merle's challenge is to be the foreman, but he can't do it. He's compelled to be the laborer.
I'm just going to explain this one more time, Merle.
Can't help her. Okay.
All right?
But see, you ain't listening to me.
In Daryl's room, Sarah is listening to her husband, but she doesn't like what she's hearing.
You're not talking, Daryl.
I'm reading right now. I'm just reading.
They are all reading the instructions, though. That's good.
Yeah.
But they're not all necessarily sinking in, I don't think.
What does it say in the directions?
It says to never lay the floor with a long, straight edge like this.
You overlap your seams, right?
That's right.
Never have seams together. And so
No, because that's where you'll open up a fault line on the floor.
Sure enough, as Sarah lays the other half of Daryl's floor, the long seam becomes an obvious weak spot. It's the same story in Merle's room.
I thought you were supposed to stagger them.
once again, it's that get your first course done correctly, the rest will follow.
That's right.
And you can see Sarah there hasn't cut her first board.
Where's all the boards? You're just standing there.
Well, that's my job.
We supplied the teams with jigsaws for this project. Merle wants Shelley to use theirs, but she feels safer making this dangerous cut. When the cut doesn't work out, Shelley transforms into Merle.
I would have cut that faster with a butter knife.
Merle finally convinces his wife to embrace the jigsaw.
Let it do the cutting. I'm talking about you going slow, not the machine.
I know.
Give it power.
Okay, I see Merle and Shelley cutting face side down, which was part of my lesson, but Barry and Scott are not.
No.
Before this challenge, Greg gave Canada's worst handymen a lesson in how to use their jigsaw and how to change its blades.
And you always have the cutting edge out.
Right.
Jeannie understood in class, but left to her own devices, she installs the blade backwards. Once again, she's failing to grasp clear-cut fundamentals. In Keith's room, things are moving along relatively quickly and correctly.
They're the only ones that seem to be doing it right this far.
But he's not doing it exactly right, and neither is Merle. If Merle and Keith spent more time reading the instructions, they would know they're putting their floors in the wrong direction.
In order to obtain the best visual effect, the floor panel should be fixed in the direction of the main light source.
In these rooms, the window is the main light source, which means Jeannie's going in the right direction, but her neighbors are not. Eventually, Keith realizes his mistake.
Oh. I mean, we can keep it this way.
Thank you.
With time running out on this challenge, none of the teams are anywhere close to being finished. So the foremen kick into high gear without stopping to think they might hurt themselves. When time does run out, most people scatter. But Jeannie and Daryl show dedication by staying behind to finish their jobs. Their ambition lasts less than 10 minutes. Not one of Canada's worst handymen got their laminate floor laid, but the results aren't all bad. The big winner is going to be Merle's daughter.
My daughter didn't have a floor for how many years? Now we got the idea how to put on a floor. So maybe now we could buy her a floor and put it on. Or she could put it on.
When we come back, petty jealousy eclipses common sense.
I did a most beautiful sun and he's painted it blue.
Well, we'll call it a moon now.
Last episode, Merle was the most improved handyman here at the rehab center. So in today's group project, he's the foreman. Merle's job is to seal up the shed with paint.
Beautify the shed. I mean, look at it now. It's an eyesore, right? It's an eyesore. Make it lovely, make it beautiful, and make it your own.
Merle could simply paint the shed one color and the trim another, but he has a grand vision.
I miss my dog, so I gotta draw my dog.
Merle has a sketchy relationship with paint. At home in Sucker Creek, he lives with abandoned murals and this chaotic splotch pattern.
We got the girls just to get newspaper, old newspaper, dip it in the paint and finish the job off. Voila.
Merle can get his kids to follow bad instructions, but how successful will he be organizing Canada's worst handyman? Especially if they're planning on sabotaging him.
Merle's right now the top dog, and if there's something that maybe I could do during the group challenge to make him look a little less, I gotta do what I gotta do.
What Daryl has to do is learn that good handiwork is a competition with yourself, not with your neighbor. If Daryl intentionally messes with Merle today, we'll have no choice but to send him to the psychologist. Dr. Julie Hill is on call to deal with any non-physical problems that might arise here at the Handyman Rehabilitation Center. Dr. Julie has already met Daryl, and she's concerned about his well-being.
He just came in here and gushed, which is why I say that he's very vulnerable right now. I find him very fragile. He may be coming to this sort of crisis about his identity.
All right, everybody. As you know, Merle is foreman of the yard work team today, and your next challenge is to do Merle's bidding. He's already doctored up the shed in a way that he wants you to paint it. All the painting supplies are out, so it's paint and party day. I will say this, we want paint over everything. I mean, ultimately, we want to seal this up.
To take control, a foreman must command respect by organizing and communicating. Merle believes he's up for the challenge.
No more pissing around, wasting time. I'll get the job done.
But almost immediately, his job site is awash in confusion and unanswered questions.
Let's get your paints.
Very good.
A small problem. Has
Let's
anybody
get the
seen a
paints
stir
open.
stick?
Hey, Merle, we got any rags?
Merle, is there a smaller paintbrush?
Any other brushes, Merle? So, Merle, how's the time?
Have you got any white?
While Merle deals with all the queries, Daryl slips off to whisper something to his wife.
I'm gonna go over there and write Jeannie's picture.
Daryl is here to learn better handyman skills. He'd improve by learning some manners.
Merle!
For some reason, Daryl has developed an active dislike for the only female candidate on Canada's worst handyman.
I just want to grab that scraggly pile of hair and just boom, boom, boom.
Stop it.
When he was head of the yard work team, Daryl banished Jeannie.
Well, that's to keep them out of the way from us, really.
Hello?
Now, he's vandalizing her work.
I left that because it's going to be yellow sun.
Daryl seems to have a bit of a chip on his shoulder these days.
You know what? Today, Daryl has been a total jerk.
What is Daryl's issue? We asked our psychologist to investigate the apparent hatred he has for his fellow nominees.
It's not so much that I hate them. It's that I'm envious.
When the session ends, Dr. Julie tells me Daryl's problem is bigger than she originally thought.
I'm concerned about Daryl. I see a man who is having a self-esteem crisis right now.
Merle is having a teamwork crisis. The group is no longer listening to him.
Okay, team, I'm getting kind of teed off now, so we gotta wrap this up.
Keith is not doing anything anymore.
I didn't care about working at all. I didn't want to do it.
And Daryl is also refusing to paint.
Merle's not a born leader.
Even Merle is not painting.
So, Merle, you understand that one of the purposes of painting the building is to seal it up, to prevent it from rotting, right?
Yeah.
You want paint on all the wood. Or is there some idea for this?
I don't know. Did you have an idea?
The roof trusses aren't painted. The sill is not painted. There's lots of the shed not painted.
You're running out of time. You're down to your last 2 minutes, and you got people standing around doing nothing. I'd get them on the job that needs doing.
Well, what could I get him to do? Like...
When time runs out, Merle knows he failed this task, but he also knows it's not entirely his fault.
I think it's more like if you're the foreman, they're trying to screw you up.
After the break, Canada's worst handymen continue to splinter.
Give her a go.
Sit down for a minute, please.
Canada's worst handymen were nominated by you. Now we've brought them here to our rehabilitation center, where we're teaching them the nuts and bolts of do-it-yourself upgrades. Each of the bad renovators has been given their own empty apartment, and in just 12 days, they and the person who nominated them will turn those vacant dwellings into beautiful homes. We hope.
All right, everybody, your next challenge here on Carpentry Day is building a chair. That's what I'm holding in my hand right now.
Oh my God.
A chair, okay? To give you some advice, I'm going to turn you over to our resident design expert. And she is not just a pretty face, she has designed many, many, many hardback chairs in her professional career. And with that, I'm passing it over to Robin.
Okay, guys, so just a few things to keep in mind when you're building your chair. We're going to do form, function, and construction. It has to look good, it has to feel good, and it has to last.
We're going to build a chair.
Some sculptors look at their raw material until it tells them what to carve. Daryl is staring at his wood, hoping it will tell him how to make a chair.
Do you have any idea?
Not really.
Daryl can look at a puzzle and just keep looking at it, and he can't figure out how to make it fit.
In Jeannie's room, she has a folding chair she brought from the classroom.
Yes, I'm going to study it for half an hour and then build the whole thing in 2 minutes.
It's a good idea, but making a folding chair is an advanced carpentry project, whereas building a straight-back chair is fairly easy. We had our expert Greg make one. It took him 20 minutes using all the same tools and materials we've given Canada's worst handymen. The most important part of this project is putting in braces, so the chair won't collapse when the person sitting in it leans over.
Good form, great function, solid construction.
Keith knows exactly what he wants to do.
I want to do like a Presbyterian chair.
Okay.
So it's
Can you draw it for me? Draw it out for me so I know what you're talking about.
It's supposed to be a Presbyterian chair, sort of, for when you're bad, like penance. You have to sit on that and pray to God that your ass doesn't hit the floor.
In our last episode, Keith was named the worst handyman here because he let his dislike for Robin affect his handiwork.
I don't like her. I don't like her one bit.
In the end, they made up. And now it seems Keith is eager to show our head designer that he can listen and wants to learn. For the first time since arriving at the Handyman Rehabilitation Center, Keith is starting a job by sketching his goal and planning his process.
This is the side view of what it's going to look like.
This chair will be tailor-made for Keith.
And you need your ass?
The form of the chair is the high back in the contrast to the low leg.
Okay.
Jeannie decides not to build a folding chair, but she's still going to use one as her prototype. Jeannie's chair will be made solidly in the open position. She has Lawrence to help, but Jeannie would rather work alone in silence.
Yeah, I'm all right, Lawrence. Just,
Well, you tell me what to do now.
just sitting around in here somewhere. I've just got to think.
Merle, on the other hand, likes to create with as much chatter as possible.
Your ass will be right here.
But, okay, where does your ass start on that chair and where does your ass end?
Barry has a reputation for being unsafe, but he's vowing to build a sturdy chair.
Sometimes I like to just get the thing looking fairly steady, and then I can add more strength to it later.
Merle's now got his legs on, but he doesn't have them braced yet.
Can you put a thing around it?
Huh?
Can you put a thing around it or no?
Like what?
Shelley's right to be nervous. Sitting in an unbraced chair is risky business.
My lady, you're thrown.
Okay, it's not done yet.
No, but give her a go.
Measuring is Merle's next challenge.
Sit down for a minute, please. Sit down for a minute, please.
Don't yell at me for nothing.
Well, I'm trying to tell you something and you won't.
It seems like he's getting bitter, but the better he's getting, the more of an ass he's becoming.
When Merle smashed into the rehab center, he lacked certain things, like a measuring tape. So we gave him one, but he hasn't used it. He'd rather use body parts. So far, he's measured with his feet, his hand, his eyes, his rear end, his wife's fingers, and now her back. We've been begging him to use the measuring tape, and today the breakthrough occurs.
No, my measuring tape.
For the first time ever in his life, Merle uses a tape measure.
Ta-da! I can't say I'm gonna trade my duct tape for a tape measure.
Since getting here, Barry has gone through 2 pairs of glasses. Now he's not seeing straight.
So I just asked Barry if he needs his glasses because he's kind of messing up a little bit. He said, no, I can do it by feel.
You'd think Daryl would be able to feel he's got the wrong saw for this job. This miter saw is a back saw, meaning its teeth are designed to cut on the back stroke. Eventually, Daryl realizes something's wrong and switches to a coping saw. Also wrong. Then, he goes to a hacksaw made for cutting metal. Wrong! The worst part about this butchery is the correct saw, a standard crosscut, is hanging on the wall behind Daryl. While Keith reinforces his shattered chair, Merle struggles with his backrest.
I think, it'll be amazing if we get one back on one chair.
With time running out, Jeannie finally lets Lawrence help. Things progress, but it's too little too late.
Even if she gets it together, it's gonna wobble like crazy.
Yeah, I don't see much hope for Jeannie, unfortunately.
When the chair challenge ends, Jeannie can't sit down. So we give her an extra 15 minutes to finish up and meet us in the hub.
Thank you, Lawrence. You're lovely.
All right, everybody, congratulations. You all made a chair. We're just gonna go down the line real quick and talk about how you did, what you did, and why you did it.
We start with Barry, whose rickety chair isn't as strong as it should be.
To be honest, I have forgotten the glue.
Greg, what do you see?
Plant stand.
You see a plant stand. Jeannie, you're up.
You know, I feel that I have done one thing that the others haven't, and that is I've hidden the screws.
Unfortunately, I'm not even seeing plant stand.
Maybe kindling?
No, it's really comfortable. Daryl, talk to us about your creation.
This is a real problem to ask for me.
Did you measure anything?
I was having real trouble with the saw.
No, not this.
That's not bad. Keith, talk to you, baby.
This is a Presbyterian high-back chair. It is supposed to be uncomfortable. I measured, I screwed, I used glue.
I think you've got a great chair there.
Oh, man, that's a winner. Mr. Foreman, Mr. Tool Belt Wearer, Mr. Most Improved of last show, bring forward the Cadillac, sir. Merle, talk to us.
Well, like Shelley said to me, listen to the professionals and use all your tools and it just might work. And it seems like it could be right.
Robin, what do you see?
What do I say? Well, it's solid.
I got to use the measuring tape a couple of times.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but are we sensing a change here? Like, it's actually like, you guys are rounding a turn.
Starting to.
Is there a hope in hell, Keith, that you could have made that 10 days ago?
No. I would never even gotten one screw in.
On that high note, it's time to test Merle's love seat.
Exactly. After we saw the dangerously rickety chairs that were created by Canada's worst handymen, we started to think maybe we're asking too much of them. Perhaps furniture design should be left to master craftsmen in Scandinavia. With that thought in mind, the next challenge for our hapless renovators is not to make their own bed, but to simply assemble it. That should reduce the stress.
We go to IKEA and the stress starts in the car on the way home. By the time we get it home, we're already fighting. Daryl, the minute I saw this, I just said, holy crap.
There's 2 pieces. One is a bed, obviously, and one is maybe like a nightstand. So let's just do it.
These flat packs of furniture come with all the assembly instructions and all the necessary parts.
So it's very simple. All they have to do is read the instructions.
Yeah, it's always there in the instructions. Well, similar with the laminate flooring. They had to
Absolutely.
read the instructions. There were pictures.
Keith follows the instructions to a T and begins by laying out the materials.
Check your materials to make sure you've got all your materials. You've got 8 of those, 8 of those, 12 of those, 4 of those. Your Allen key, the most important thing.
Daryl is so confused by the instructions, he's going backwards.
How do you know what piece is supposed to go where?
That's why I jumped ahead actually to the end. Now I'm working backwards.
It's not the same on the picture.
Focusing on the directions, Keith is the only handyman getting the job done right.
That mofo is done. Moving on.
Some people can build these things without instructions. Daryl is not one of those people.
Are you doing it?
I don't know, I'm just guessing right now.
Easy. Oh my God.
I guess I shouldn't have left. Should have just left him out.
Merle and Shelley are working together on the chest of drawers. The wood is wounded, but Merle knows what to do. Now Merle's wounded, but he knows what to do.
Time to pull out the duct tape. If you had no furniture at all, Merle, could you make a dresser out of just duct tape? Well, I'll probably need some cardboard or something.
In Keith's room, there's a problem.
Oh no! Oh, this is ridiculous. Oh, this is ridiculous.
Jeannie's floundering too, and she still won't accept help.
Lawrence, let me do this. Sorry. Sorry. No, that's not right. This is not right. No, let me just think about this for a minute. This is not right. Oh, shush, Lawrence.
Merle and Shelley aren't working well together either.
Can we work on different things, or do we have to work on this together?
No, you can work on both of them, sure, simultaneously if you want.
Okay, can I start the bed, or do you want to start the bed?
Okay, I'll start the bed. Are you sure you can?
Merle moves on to the bed,
These must be your legs, eh?
while Shelley stays on his case.
Read the instructions.
All right, now I'm looking like a bed.
Daryl's contraption is also looking like a bed. Briefly.
Okay, how about we stop doing this? Let's put the bed together so we have one piece done. Because
Why don't you help me with this then? Because that bed's never gonna get together.
it was fine for a minute.
Some couples should never do handiwork together. Daryl and Sarah are one of those couples.
I feel like there's quite a dynamic between the two of them.
If you make me bend down one more time, I'm gonna freak out.
She is critical of him, and she acknowledges that she criticizes him. She thinks her criticism may motivate him.
Wait! These things have to be screwed in. Can you just wait a sec? Mine is not, and you're hurting my fingers. Just give me a minute. This is why I don't like doing it with you. Because you just start ramming everything.
I'm not doing it. I stopped. I need help. I can't do it. There's an issue.
As Keith's frustration begins to consume him, he runs the risk of having this challenge spiral out of control. To continue, Keith has to calm down and apply logic.
Oh my god. Okay, it's over. It's over. It's over. It's done. Oh my god. I can't believe this.
Without Shelley, Merle would also be lost.
What the hell's with this?
What?
It's a ladder?
Put it on the thing. That's simple.
It's not a ladder, it's support slats for the mattress.
Don't kill yourself.
Okay.
Spread it out. Spread it out.
One thin slat can't possibly hold Merle's weight.
Get out of the bed.
kind of stuck.
Do you want help?
With time running out, Jeannie is suddenly desperate for Lawrence's help.
No, come on.
All right, stop yelling at me.
But when time expires, she doesn't have her bed made.
That was hard work.
Barry doesn't have his drawers made.
Not good.
Keith has neither piece finished.
I know.
I hate you so much.
Daryl also struck out.
Sucks.
And even though Merle relied on his old fallback duct tape, he did manage to get both pieces of furniture built.
Right? I learned how to finish a whole project, not like at home. I just get things ready, start, and I quit. Now I could actually finish something.
Now it's time for the experts to make their final inspection on all the work that went on in this episode.
Thumbs up, thumbs down.
No question.
Thumbs up.
Yeah, I got it.
Thank you.
Holy smokes. Congratulations.
So, we have to figure out who is the most improved, who's the worst.
I say definitely there's a stiff competition between Daryl and Jeannie. Like, nothing seems to be sinking in. They're not getting any further ahead than when they started.
Yeah, I'm just so Merle not finishing things and just that same old duct tape behavior coming back again to haunt him.
Keith
is doing well. Like all of a
shocks,
sudden, Keith seems to have calmed down. He's focused. He's planning ahead. I think he's taking the steps that are required.
So, worst or short list would be?
Daryl and Jeannie have my vote.
Okay, we gotta somehow figure out who is going to be the most improved this episode and who is going to be the worst.
I think if Barry gets the worst again, he's gonna have a breakdown. He might. We're hoping.
So, we've made it to the end of the third episode here at the Handyman Rehabilitation Center, and I am happy to say we've finally seen some major progress, some breakthroughs, and some serious improvement. Hooray! Merle, you used a tape measure for the first time in your entire life. Woohoo! That's something. Something. Keith?
Yes.
You made a chair that was actually more comfortable than the awful church pews that inspired it. Fantastic. Way to go. Now I'm at the lovely part of the show, yes, Merle, indeed, where I get to hand off the belt. Merle was the most improved in the last episode, and in this episode, the most improved gets this belt again, of course, and they also get to become the head of the yard work team, of course, and that person is the handyman who arrived here unable to turn a screw or swing a hammer, but in this show, he was laying floors and building furniture like a budding pro. It's you, buddy. Of course. You were the king of this episode. Take the belt.
Put it on me.
Put it on you. You were the king of this episode, sir. And so as a result, we're going to ask you... Ooh, get on there. We're going to ask you to sit in your throne, sir. Indeed.
Thank you.
Woo-hoo, hang in there. Hang in there. Do not fall now. It's the wrong time.
I knew I was winning.
Now I have the sad job of naming the worst handyman for this episode. Yeah, I'm sorry, Jeannie. Jeannie, meet me at the tool shed.
Stand tall.
Jeannie was named worst this episode because of her ongoing failure to grasp the basics. She can't use a handsaw, she can't use a jigsaw, she can't use a drill, and she won't accept help. Come on in.
Okay.
It's time for Jeannie to hang her head in shame like Barry and Keith before her.
You're joking. How did they get up there?
Oh, you can get it up there.
If you don't believe this candidate for Canada's Worst Handyman needs to work on her carpentry basics, count how many strokes Jeannie needs to drive home this nail.
I think something's gonna fall off the wall.
There's a ladder on the other side in there. I hope it is. Basically, you're not a good handyman, not because of your lack of passion or because of your lack of enthusiasm or your lack of desire.
Yeah, right.
It's basically, you're a poor handyman because you haven't had any practice.
That's right.
So? You are going to become better at screwing. I believe you know the drill. Just sink them all. You'll become better. This is straightforward stuff.
Okay. Doesn't sound too healthy. Is this a timed contest?
This is not a contest. This is practice for you.
You got all day here, Andrew, all weekend or something?
I've got all the time it takes.
On the next episode of Canada's Worst Handyman. Bad work results in total do-overs. Wallpaper comes down, floor tiles are ripped up, and door frames get pulled apart, causing major headaches. Oh.